Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back if you've been here with us for the past 2 weeks, and welcome if you haven't been here before. My name is Tommy Hensel, and I am the director of the Fine and Performing Arts Center at Moraine Valley Community College. We are located in Palos Hills, Illinois, just outside of Chicago, so a southwest suburb of the city. So as every performing arts center in the world, in the last couple of months, we've been closed, so obviously we haven't been presenting live performances. And since we don't have access to our stage, we can't actually do live streaming of performances. So a few weeks ago, I thought, well, how do we sort of keep ourselves out there, but keep people engaged and reach out to all of you who have been our friends and our donors and our sponsors and our volunteers and all of our staff members that we haven't been able to see in weeks now. So I started making phone calls and emails, and every artist that I talked to said yes. When I said, hey, why don't you come on live with me? Let's just have a conversation. I think it's kind of cool for audiences and people to get to know artists as people, not as just the artist on stage doing their thing. That's fabulous and important, but also, we're all people. So I wanted to reach out. So I've been excited to have interviewed a couple of people already. And tonight I am super thrilled. I'm gonna have to put this on because I can't see to click anything without it, to interview one of my very favorite performers of all time, an amazing actor, singer, dancer, and an awesome human being. So let's welcome to our live stream tonight, the amazing Mr. Ben Vereen. Hey, Ben.
Thank you. Hey, Tommy, how you doing? Hello, Chicago. I love you guys.
So I'm actually beaming in from a western suburb of Chicago. I live in Berwyn, which is a little suburb west of Chicago. And where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling from Florida. Nice. It's called West Palm Beach.
Oh, well, nice.
Very nice here.
Yeah, actually, for some reason, I thought you were still in New York, but it's kind of cool.
I went south.
Yeah, there you go. You were in our season, I think 3 years ago, and did your fantastic performance. And so I have you back on the schedule for next season, but because everything got kind of deferred, we have moved that performance. So I can't officially announce it, but I think for those of people who are watching tonight, you're going to be with us in February.
My
Valentine's Day. I'm excited by that.
Yes.
So for everybody who's out there tonight, one of the things that I'm going to be trying to do is I have some questions to ask Ben, and we're just going to have a conversation, but I'm kind of watching your comments on the screen. So as we see things that look really likely as interesting comments, I will reach over and grab some of them and ask Ben some questions. So, and you're getting a lot of hellos over there. And actually one of my best friends, Mojo from Mojo and the Bayou Gypsies, is watching us from right outside of New Orleans. He's going to be my guest in 3 weeks. So Ben, one of the things that I told you right before we went on the air, I didn't really prepare questions for these. I just kind of like to see what happens. And one of the things that's always fascinated me about people who are really fantastic performers is kind of figuring out where it all started for you. Like, when you were a kid, when was the first time that you got excited by music or dance or performance? And then when did you decide, hey, this is what I want to do?
It started, I think, the 3rd month of my mother's pregnancy. I started moving around and feeling this energy inside of me. She filled me with all this beautiful energy. And I said, wow, I can't wait to get out of here. And boom, here I am. Actually, it started for me, I guess, some time ago. It's a funny thing. I had a conversation with a class today, and they asked me pretty much the same question. And I found myself saying something that I truly do believe. I believe that we all arrive on this planet with a certain destination or a certain journey that we will have. And I've been blessed to have this journey because all through my life, I've been blessed by people who have entered my life, like yourself, and said, come this way. When I was about 7 or 8 years old in Brooklyn, the streets of Brooklyn, New York, and in playing around in what they call the ghetto, I call it my hood, my neighborhood. And some white guy comes down the block, and out of all the kids, he points to me and says, "Come this way." And he takes me to a place called Star Time Dance Studio. And that was the first time I went to a dance studio. But I found that something else was going on at the same time prior to him showing up. I love to perform around the house. I just get up, dance to records. You remember records?
Yes, I do.
78s, you could crack them. And I danced and sang, and my mother used to always have neighbors over. And so when I went to the dance school, I got an idea of dance. I didn't really learn too much from that studio, but it reaffirmed the feeling of the joy of performing. And then I had the opportunity to do some work in the hospitals with this guy, and then the church reaffirmed that, and then high school reaffirmed that. And it's been a magnificent journey. I got to play in Chicago. We built a school in Chicago, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
John Coleman, we built a school right there on the South Side. Yeah, so it's been a wonderful journey, and it's been blessed. I've been blessed to have friends like yourself and all my friends in Chicago and around the Chicago area who supported me all these years. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, one of the things that I remember from the last time you came and performed at our theater was the performance was amazing, but I remember the masterclass that you did with musical theater students, because I have never experienced a class like the way you do a class, because you were so, I mean, you were so giving and compassionate, but so hard, not a bad way hard, but really hard on them to get them to be real. And that just, I learned so much by sitting in that audience and watching that. I think that was my favorite moment of our first meeting.
Well, thank you. I don't call it hard. It's about when you're up on the stage, or my stage at least, you got to be authentic. We are blessed to be on that stage, reflecting life back to life by being the mirrors, and we write and we perform back to you what you're going on in your life. So we got to be authentic with where we're coming from in our lives in order to translate that to the audience. So I try and give my students that ability. And I often tell them, the brilliance that you're seeking, it's been seeking you. Allow it. Allow it.
Yep. Try it. Yep. I remember one of my very best friends, Carolyn Brady, was the accompanist for that. And I've rarely seen an accompanist break down in tears in the middle of a master class, because she was so moved by just the shift of from one performance to another as you worked with some of those students. It was just amazing.
Thank you. Well, it is an individual job for each one. I take a lot of pride in that, and I thank the students for allowing me to reach in and maybe show them a different path from which they're traveling on. And if it works, use it. Use it, please. Use it.
Yeah, so we have, here's, boy, I'm just going to put this up because I have to. This is a comment. This is my sister. My sister says hello. she's in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah. So this is my sister Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. And we have a question that I think is really kind of interesting. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Cynthia Chisholm asked about you dancing with your daughter, Naja. How was that?
Wonderful. I lost her a few years after that. She was in my heart. All my children are, but she was, when a child is taken from you, a parent, they never leave. You always hold them in your heart. And Naja was, she was such a reflection of me. And we miss her, but she's with me all the time. Thank you for remembering Naja. Thank you.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that she was a dancer too. That's awesome.
Yes, a singer, and she was amazing. She worked with the Arthur Mitchell Dance Company, ballet company. She was with the company. Yes.
So one of our viewers wants you to do a master class for those of us over 40.
Oh, I'd love to. I love to listen to that journey. Listen to that journey and the volume of information that you have to offer.
So Lori, if you're in the area and Ben's going to be here in February, drop me an email. We'll work it out. So Ben, Okay, first of all, I was going to save this, but I'm very excited because while I've been in this sort of at home so much, I've been cleaning and sorting, and I have a huge collection of films. And when I got a stereo for the first time in the early 1970s, one of the very first albums I bought was the cast album for Pippin.
Oh, yes, yes, thank you.
And
I won that album.
There you are.
Right there, the guy with the straw hat on. That's me. That's John Rubinstein and Joe Claiborne. Yeah, Candy Brown and yeah.
So the next time I see you, I'm going to bring this in. I'm not much for autographs, but I really want you to autograph this album.
My honor. Thank you.
But yeah, honestly, it was. I think when I first got that stereo, I ran out and I bought Pippin and A Little Night Music.
Oh yes.
And Chorus Line. Those were the first three that I bought.
Yes. I remember those shows. I was around my time.
Yeah. And actually, over the years, I haven't seen her in a long time, but I've become good friends with Anne Reinking in the last 10 years or so.
She's sweet. She's my darling. Yes, we started out together in Pippin.
Yeah.
And I worked with her in the Broadway Theater Project, which she created in Tampa, Florida, and worked there with Gwen Verdon, who, of course, is my heart. She was Bob Fosse's wife.
Yeah.
And a wonderful they were an amazing team together.
Yep. And I think you worked with our mutual friend, Melissa Thodos, as well at the Broadway Project. She and Anne are really good friends.
Sure, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah, so cool.
It is a wonderful. Matter of fact, Deb McWater's continuing the program, and this year she's going to do like you're doing, like everyone's doing. We're live streaming, and I'll be teaching with her online. This will be very interesting for me. Is to get people to. I want to see how if we can really touch them through the screen, and that's a matter of the actor recipient to be open enough and receptive enough to go within without someone being in their face.
Yep.
That's going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's fascinating because I'm taking voice lessons right now, and I'm having to do it online, and so it's the first time that I've actually had that virtual teacher watching me perform, giving me feedback. It's a really interesting process.
Yes, it is. It is because when you're doing it on screen like you're doing right now, the observer is watching you, and although you feel detached, you are attached. If I'm making sense, you think that you're not being felt, but someone observing you, and they can see things that you can't see, so they can give you pointers. And hopefully, if you can accept them, you'll bring out the brilliance inside of you.
Now, there's Darren Price just asked a really interesting question. He talks about the unique characters that you played, and from an acting perspective, how do you tap into and bring out that uniqueness and richness in so many diverse characters that you play?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, what I do is I have a conversation with the character. I go within. And because each character is different, they have their own background, their own history. And I ask permission to enter that history and try not to obscure it too much with my own ego, but allow them to speak through me. And that's quite a process, because always the human mind wants to get in the way of it. Say, no, it's allowing that character to speak through you. And I love the journey. They call it acting. I don't call it acting. I call it being.
Yeah. So I have a question, because I know, and the answer is probably a lot of the characters, but you've obviously had the joy of being able to work directly with screenwriters and with playwrights to develop characters from the ground up too, and not just step into somebody else's already created character, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And even in stepping to someone else's character, you still bring your own uniqueness to the part. Mm-hmm. That's what I try to instill with my students, that although you may be doing a part that somebody else has done, it's not going to be that way because you're doing it now.
Yeah.
And bring your uniqueness to the role. Although you're singing the same words, saying the same words that the other actor said, or you're doing the same steps, but it's your steps that are uniquely yours that you bring. You cannot, because no two actors or no two people are the same. The different characteristics are so unique and beautiful. That's what you see.
Yep. So Cynthia Edwards Chisholm asked a really interesting question. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you. Was your appearance on Fresh Prince as emotional for you as it was for us viewing?
Oh yes, oh yes. Playing that character. First of all, it was Will Smith. God love him. I was recovering from an accident I had in '92, and Will was so kind to say, "Come this way, come. No, don't come this way." And so we got this character that he wanted me to play. It was quite emotional because I was playing a character that I don't like, but it was a true character for most people in our society. So I had to be authentic with him and with the character, and rejecting my son because he was afraid. He thought he could take it on, and I'm sure a lot of fathers go through that in that sort of situation. They feel like I can do this, and then the reality hits, and he goes, I really can't do this. I'm not equipped, and he runs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was tough, especially when he says, "Okay, you know, Will, you know, whatever, you know." So,
Wow. Awesome. So I actually that's a question I've always had for people who've played so many diverse roles that you've played, you know, some really likable people and some not so likable.
yeah.
Is how do you, like, when you know you have to play a character that you yourself don't believe to be a likable human being, but you have to inhabit that character? Is that hard? Is that hard for you?
Yes, it is. That's hard for any actor, but it's fun also because you have to completely lose yourself in the dislike of that character. You know, you got to remove yourself from your ego. It's not about you anymore. It's about the authentic. It's about the realness that you can bring to that particular role. You know, there's been roles I've done where I didn't like the guy, but you know, this was who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And by me showing her, we just did a thing when I was with Queen Latifah in a show called Queen, and the father was really a bastard. You know, his background was really amazing, but I had to find a place of me that I didn't like about myself in order to make it okay for that character.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep, I remember when I did a production of Cabaret and I played Arents, who is the character who ends up being the Nazi. And I remember someone saying to me, "How can you play a horrible Nazi person?" I said, "I'm not. I'm playing this really nice guy who has strong political convictions and believes that he's right." You know, I can't think of him as a bad person because he doesn't think of himself as a bad person.
Exactly. So he used to do a thing in Pippin. People say, "How do you play the leading player? Why do you do that each night?" I said, "Well, what I do is I go into my dressing room an hour before the show, and I have a box on my dressing table, and I open the box. I take 2 boxes. I take my brain out and put it in the box, close it, and I turn the other box and take the leading player's brain, put it in my head, and I become him."
That's genius. That's really genius. I love that. Oh my Lord.
See, the idea is not to forget to put your own brain back in when you leave the theater.
Well, yeah, and honestly, I think we've both known those actors who can't quite leave it behind.
I've seen that happen. I've seen guys get so hung up in the character, they're still playing that character today. Behavior, you know, behaviors.
Just stop.
Yeah,
So I know, I mean, obviously right now we've halted with live performance, but when we just today, but when we go back into it again, do you have a project that's lined up that you're excited about that you can tell us about? Or
right now I'm working on a project. I was about to do a gala in October for an organization called Care for the Homeless. And what this organization does is provide medical care for the homeless people. And so when this whole pandemic came down, we had to rethink it. So in order to raise funds for them, we're having a benefit on June 18th to support them. And a lot of my friends, like David Copperfield, is going to be on it. Glenn Close is, of course, he's going to be on it. Shoshana Bean, Clint Holmes, a lot of, you know, my son, I call him Wayne Brady. They're all coming out to support this. So that's a project I'm working on now. So there's a whole new platform which I'm getting involved in, like yourself, and trying to make it entertaining yet telling and supportive what the cause is. And on top of that, also working on a character called Midas, who is a blind man. But it's almost like Aesop's fables. He goes around touching people's lives, but he can't physically see, but he can see spirit.
Ooh.
Yeah, so something like that. And there's another one. I can go on and on. So about 3 or 4 projects we're working on at the same time.
No, I'm just excited to know what you're working on, because it seems like, one of the things I love about the projects you choose is that it's never just, I'm going to do this project because I want to make a paycheck. There's something really important in them. There's something spiritual about the work that you choose to do, I think.
Thank you. Yes, it is for me, because everything is spirit.
Well, yeah.
It is spirit. And so I try to remove myself out of the way of spirit and allow spirit to speak through in the character. And you could always tell, because you'll do a performance and all of a sudden when you find yourself in the middle of your performance questioning what you just done or did, that's you getting in the way of your greatness, of spirit. That's you getting in the way and saying, I allow, and breathe it and go with it, go through it. I'm getting ready. We're writing a piece called The First Grader. And I love this guy. It's actually a true story about this Mau Mau, who, when the war was over in Kenya, and this Mau Mau was thrown out of jail, and they broke his foot, and they killed his family, and they told him, and said, "You're free, get out of here." They gave him a letter he couldn't read, and so 50 years later, the government says, "Guess what they're doing now? You can go to school, you can go to get your own education, get your education." So he gets it. He walks 50 miles to the nearest school. It's the first grade. It's called The First Grader.
Oh my gosh!
What he does, he teaches the children about he teaches them about how can I put this, humanity, and about the pride of their country. And the kids teach them how to read. It's sweet.
Oh, that's awesome. So is that something, is that coming up in the fall and the spring?
It's about a year away. We've been working on this one for a while. It's really good. It was based on a movie.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, so now are you working on it as a stage play, or is
stage play?
Oh wow. Okay, cool.
Stage play.
Nice.
I think it speaks a lot to illiteracy, in our country, and how important it is.
So let's see. Oh, my friend Mary Stewart is watching. She would love to know what it's like working on Sneaky Pete.
It was wonderful. I hated they took it out of New York City. It was wonderful and should still be running. The cast was amazing. It was beautiful. I loved it, to answer your question.
Awesome.
Actually, he was an older version of 10-Speed from 10-Speed and Brown Shoe. That's what, I played an older 10-Speed.
Oh, here's Laurie talks about seeing you at the Catalina Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
In Hollywood.
I love the Catalina. I love Catalina. She's so beautiful and wonderful, and she's been so good to me. So yes, you'll see me there a lot. I love Catalina's. I love Catalina.
Yep. Catalina's beautiful.
Yes. She's a beautiful woman. Beautiful woman. And she's had a jazz club in Hollywood for a long time.
Yeah, it's funny because all the years that I've been visiting my friends in LA, I've never been. So I'm gonna have to.
Oh,
yeah.
Catch the roof. Amazing history.
So I know that it's probably a pat question that a lot of people who interview you have asked, but do you have like a standout moment that you think is like your favorite role or your favorite moment in your career, or are there just so many?
That's what asked me, which one of your kids do you like the best?
Yeah.
The answer for that. I enjoy them all. And whatever people relate to that was the best one. That was the last thing. Well, I love doing that one, but I love them all. I guess for most people who didn't know about me, there's Chicken George and Roots. There's Chicken George, always good. Somebody said leading player. Oh, I'm a leading player. Oh, it's Will Smith's father. Oh, Will Smith's father. How can you lead Will? I can't tell you. women have hit me with their pocketbooks. You know, why?
Yeah.
Well, you know, so they've all been very special to me.
Yep. I think that for me, because of of picking up that Pippin album when I was young,
Mhm.
my first exposure to your performance was through the leading player in
Mm.
Pippin, and then Roots, because I remember watching Roots when I was younger. So I think those were the two that sort of solidified you for like me as a fan,
No,
essentially.
thank you. That root story is a very special one to me. You know the story, of course.
Mhm.
Alex Haley goes back to Juffure, which is right outside of Gambia, and I took that trip just to see where Alex Haley came from and where his journey took him.
Mhm.
And there's an island off of Juffure called it's called Kite Island now, but in those days it was called James Island, and they called it the door of no return. Because when the snatchers would grab African men and African women and children, they'd take them to James Island. And there was a little island, and they'd be packed on this island, and the boats would come and take them off to the United States, and they'd never see their families again. And what's so amazing about Alex Haley, he not only went to Juffure, found out what was happening. They didn't have electricity. He gave them electricity. Then he got on a boat, and to simulate what it must have felt like for our ancestors to come across that water, he wouldn't have stayed in the hull of the ship all the way across. Just to imagine, what it must have felt like. Of
Mhm.
course, yeah, he'll never know. But the idea that he went through that to those depths to bring us that story is quite amazing. He was an amazing man, is an amazing man. And he left us with such a great legacy for everybody. I tell people, they say, well, how did that happen? I said, well, here's the thing. ABC, God bless them, had the courage to say, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. They had a movie on, a series prior to that called Rich Man, Poor Man.
Mhm. I
And they
remember
showed
that.
a period of time. I guess it tanked. And they had a meeting around the tables, and the guys are going, what are we going to do? We got this show, this black show called Roots. If Rich Man and Poor Man's tanking, what are we going to do with this thing? And some executive said, I got an idea. I said, what? Put it on in 1 week. Get rid of it. And that was the key to turn the lock and open the door. Because everybody was glued every night.
Mhm.
We did it because of the importance of the document. We had no idea of what had happened. And that Saturday, I believe, I got a call from ABC that Freddie Prince unfortunately left us too soon. And they asked me to cover for him. So I said, of course. So I go down to the studio, and Merv Griffin's there. And Merv turns to me and goes, congratulations. And I go, oh, yeah, okay, thank you, Merv, thank you. Then the curtain opens, there's a standing ovation. And I turn to Merv and I go, Merv said, no, that's for you, Chicka George. And I went, what? My God. And it hit me like my whole world changed. We had no idea what had just happened. All we knew that we had to tell our story. We had to tell America about our Holocaust. We've been talking about my Jewish brothers and sisters' Holocaust. What about the African Americans' Holocaust in this country? So thank you, Alex Haley.
Wow. I remember being glued to the television and watching that.
Mhm.
Just and because I grew up in the deep South,
Mhm.
so that's history that's not taught
Mhm.
there.
I thought it
It
wasn't
wasn't.
schools when I was growing up. There's like a paragraph, you were a slave and Lincoln freed you.
Mhm.
If you went deeper into it, you're part of, some what they call a radical group or an activist group. This can't be it. This
Mhm.
can't be it. And then Alex Haley comes along. And a little humorous story. I was on the road at that time doing my act, and I heard about this movie about Roots, and it was in the Reader's Digest at that time. So I went to my agent and I said, I want to be a part of this. I want to be. I don't care what it is. If it's standing, I just got to be a part. He said, come on, Ben, you're a song and dance man. They're looking for actors. I said, I can act. He said, come on, get real with yourself, Ben. And he gives me a gig in Chicago. in a group that was opening for there in Chicago. And a group that I was introduced was a group called Sister Sledge. And they went on to become fabulous. And we went down to Savannah, Georgia. And I was doing a character at that time in my act called Bert. It was Bert Williams. And Bert Williams was an American, African-American who came to America from Antigua in the late 1800s. And in those days, it was taboo, for a Black man to be on stage. But what had happened, my understanding is that during slavery, these two white actors were walking down the road in the South, and they saw the African Americans entertaining themselves on Sunday. And the guy said, "Hey, I got an idea." He said, "What?" He said, "Why don't we black up and do them?" He said, "What?" Yeah. And so they call it the minstrel shows. So then the minstrel shows started, these white actors in blackface. So as slavery was abolished, we Black people looked up and saw them on stage doing us, and we could do us better than they're doing us. But the problem was, most in the South, as you know, we were lynched, we were tarred and feathered, we were killed for being on the American stage. They said, "We're not going to accept you on the stage unless you black up." So we had to wear blackface. And so this man made it an art form. So I was doing Bert Williams. And so I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I'm in Savannah, Georgia, doing Bert Williams, right? The blackface. And then the audience after the show that evening, I'm in my dressing room, taking off my makeup and getting ready. And a knock comes on the door, an open door. It's a guy named Stan Margulies. Stan Margulies was an executive producer with his friend David Wolper. And he looked at me and he said, "I want you to be my Chicken George." And that was history. I didn't know what a Chicken George was. I didn't know if he had a fried chicken chain, like the Colonel somewhere in the South. I want to be in Roots.
That's awesome. Somebody just mentioned here that they remember you doing that tribute to Bert Williams in a special. Darren Price says here that every time he sees Roots, he sees something different that he didn't see before. And I think I haven't seen it in decades. I need to see if it's available to rent.
Yes, it is. It is. Matter of fact, I'm about to have a showing with my grandson, who's never seen it also.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to sit with him and explain it to him. He's heard about it, so it's exciting.
Yep. It was funny. I guess I was kind of lucky because my parents weren't liberal by any means. It was the conservative South, but they were also not at all racist. It was just not a conversation in our house. And so, so stuff like that, they were fine with me watching it because it wasn't anything that they were thinking, "Oh, I don't want our children to learn this." So I was kind of lucky compared to some of my friends, I think.
I'm sure. Yeah. Thank you. And I thank your parents.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they're up there, looking at me now, going, "Really?"
They're in here. That's how I'm telling people. We always say they're up there. No, by us mentioning your parents right now, they're in the room.
They're in here. They're in here.
Exactly.
They are. And if my sister's still watching, I'm sure she'll agree with me. Yeah. But yeah, funny because you would have gotten along with my father because he was a good guy, but you and my mother would have been really good friends. She would have loved you. Would have loved her. But so let me see what other people are asking here. Oh, somebody asked a minute ago. It was my friend Mary Stewart asked a question about the Rocky Horror show that you did and how much fun that was. Did you have fun doing that?
Kenny Ortega, my friend, called me and asked me to do this part, and I loved it. I had a good time. I had never seen the Rocky Horror Show. I kept threatening to go see it, but I got so busy and never saw it. And there I was doing it, and it was fascinating. And then I also had an electric wheelchair, so I had to learn how to dance on an electric wheelchair. I called my friend Mary Verdes Fletcher, who has spinal bifida, and she's created a company called Cleveland Ballet on Wheels. And when I had my knees done, she came and showed me how to dance in a wheelchair.
That's amazing. Yeah. I remember watching that thinking, wow, how are you doing that? That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember actually you were at our theater not too long before that. And I remember Amanda Hansen, who was on earlier helping us with the tech behind the scenes. I remember the two of you doing the Rocky Horror. Oh my Lord, my brain just turned off. Doing the time warp backstage.
Yes.
In the green room.
Yep.
Like, okay. So Amanda, if you're still listeing, remember you doing the time warp with Ben. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Tracy Cooper says this. I think this is interesting. It's because of the rich man's frug that that the parents put him or her in dancing school.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you.
I love Sweet Charity.
Huh?
I love that show.
Oh yes, Bob Fosse, best. I was talking today about how I met him. I'd never seen a Broadway show, and I was just out of school. I just worked for a guy named Langston Hughes in The Prodigal Son, and I first met Langston Hughes, and I was unemployed. I was standing on the corner of 47th Street. 46th Street, and at a newsstand, and there was in the papers that day backstage, they said open audition for a show called Sweet Charity at the Palace Theater. And I went to the audition, and it was like the opening of All That Jazz. Every dancer in the world was on that stage, and there I was, didn't have my dance shoes, no dance clothes, and down the middle of the Palace Theater comes walking Bob Fosse. First time I saw him, we became instant friends.
Awesome. Yeah. And so obviously it worked out in that audition.
Oh yeah. And it was a tough audition. The thing about Bob would come up and he'd demonstrate, and he smoked cigarettes, obviously. And he would do a combination, and the ashes would not fall until he decided to flick his cigarette. We never got the combination. We people be watching to see if the ashes are going to fall.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah. He was so smooth.
Yeah, I've heard lots and lots of stories about just how exacting he was as far as just things like the flicking of the hands and all of it.
Yes. He had us practice the rich man flew one step for 8 hours to get this one step perfect. I remember that day. We were all morning, we worked on this one step, and he came back and he said, after lunch, he said, okay, let's go at it again. And the guy behind me says, like this, oh, man, we gotta do that step again. Bob was across the room. He turned his head and he called over Eddie, asked Eddie, and he said something to him, and the stage manager walks over to this guy behind me and says, there's a ticket for at the airport. Thank you very much. And everybody said, how many times do you want this, Mr. Fosse?
It's like, okay, done.
But he worked us like that because he wanted the best out of you for you.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you watch those dances, you can see it. The precision is stunning.
Yes.
It's just stunning.
Yes. It was wonderful. It was tough, but it was wonderful. It's good stuff. Everything was precise, beautiful.
And you were I should know this because I'm interviewing you, but you were in the movie, that made about Fosse's life, correct?
Yeah, they did have a character of me in there, and the young man came and met me and wanted to know, of course, he was doing his research. But yes, they did have me in the movie.
And I can't remember the actor who played it.
Yeah, I should know his name as well as my own.
Me too. But
yes, and I hear he did a wonderful job. I have not seen it.
All That Jazz. My brain just thank you, Angelo Green, for reminding me the name of the movie.
Thank you. I just I guess I'm too close to Bob to watch it. But the young lady who played Gwen was spot on. She did a wonderful job. The one comment that Ann said, and I agree, is wish that they doubled Gwen and Bob so they had double so they could show them dancing, because they did a lot of dancing together.
Yeah.
His work.
Awesome. Yeah, I just remember I always found that movie to be really fascinating. And I think that's what made me, when I first met Anne, I remember we talked a little bit about Bob because she was putting some of his choreography on Melissa Thodos' company at the time. So she was talking to the dancers about him a lot. It was just really fascinating to hear.
Yes. I love Anne. I love it.
So let's see. Oh yeah, so let's see. I missed a question, so I'm gonna go back.
Here we are at home.
We are at home.
Right at home.
Oh, so yeah, just a comment that my friend Valerie Vestal Ranking, who shares a name with Ann Ranking, she teaches first grade, so or is an educator. So I think that first grade project sounds fascinating to her.
Yes, I think you will enjoy it to see the way the writer, we're dealing with this subject of illiteracy, and how this man at 76 decides to go back to school, and these kids who embrace him, and how the parents of that town are up in arms because this elderly man's in school with them. All sorts of rumors are flying, and he's about teaching the kids about their heritage.
That's awesome.
Truth, and it's a wonderful piece. So keep praying with us that it comes about. Thank you.
Fingers crossed. Oh, and here's the Ahmad Simmons was the character, was the actor who played Ben Vereen.
Yes, he was. Yes, he did a wonderful job. Wonderful. I didn't see it, but I heard it was a wonderful job. He's a great young man. I saw him in they moved. What is Hadestown? He's in Hadestown.
I saw that show back in January.
Yeah,
wow, what a good show.
Yeah, great job. Great job.
Yeah, that's one of the best shows I've seen in New York in a while, I have to say.
Yes, amazing.
So Angelo Green is a former student at Moraine Valley who works there now, but is an actor, and he asked for your advice for young performers.
My advice for young performers is be honest and truthful to yourself, and continue to work on yourself, because yourself will always surprise you. You're not in competition with anybody but yourself, and try and outdo yourselves each and every time you try and up yourself. Allow yourself to do just that, and always remember who and whom's you are. We're not just human beings. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So therefore, if the spirit is the one guiding, and be in touch with your spirit, call it God, Allah, Buddha, Jesus, the great higher power, whatever you choose to call upon it, use it as it is using you by calling you forth to do this thing called performing arts. All of life is an art form, but we choose the performing aspects of it in order to reflect back to people their lives and their emotions, so they can get a feeling of their lives once again. So we have a big job ahead of us, and it's a wonderful job. But the only way we can do it is by being authentic with our true selves in our performance, and applying ourselves to the word, and to the movement, and to the expression of the inner spirit.
And that actually would be the same answer as to this person, Lily, who asked, advice about making a living out of performing. And I think it really is the same thing. I mean, the technical stuff of making a living is technical stuff, but the heart of it is what you just talked about.
Yeah. We all want to make a living. And the question is, why are you coming this way? See, I'm coming this way to be a star because I'm the good, I'm the best. That's your ego. But why are you coming this way? It's because you were chosen to come this way.
Yep. It's funny because I remember saying to somebody who asked me once in an interview, when did you choose that you wanted to have a career in the performing arts? And I said, you don't choose art. Oh. Art chooses you. And I went out of the field for about 7 years once in the early part of my career, and I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable, and I was successful doing something else and was making good money, but my soul was not there 100%.
Yeah. We get some people, we all get hung up on the idea of the materialism of the account of what we can obtain by this profession that we're in. The frills and around, the bells and whistles, all those things. But what about the work? That's what's important, the work. And that's what stands all through time.
So my good friend Jody, who you saw briefly before this, she's backstage right now helping feed us questions. She has a question for you. Do you prefer acting over dancing? Which brings more joy?
Employment.
Yeah, employment does bring some joy.
As you get older, of course, the body will say, okay, those can't do those high kicks anymore. So you find a new way to move. but the idea that you can perform or express yourself from a performing aspect is we're grateful for. But even when you get older, as I am, and my body's been through a lot. I'm so thankful for my body. I mean, it's been through near death. It's been through brokes and bad. Still, it still carries me. You got to give praise and thanks for that.
Yeah.
And you learn to work with what you have. Because there's one thing that's shining through more than the high kicks or the splits that you do, is the spirit of the movement of heart.
And you know who else I worked with recently that I feel like has that same energy is Chita Rivera.
My darling. Yes, I'm going to marry her in my next life.
She is phenomenal too.
Yes, she is. She's a good friend, a true friend.
And I tell you, when she performed at Moraine, she did a developpe that I thought I can't do one. When I was 20, I couldn't do one that good, and she's not 20, and she was amazing.
Watching her perform is a masterclass.
Oh, absolutely. Well, honestly, watching you perform is a masterclass too, Ben. So my friend Mojo had a really lovely quote.
Yes, they are.
Yep. Our talents are gifts from God, but they're not for us. They're for us to make others happy.
Yes, very nice. Yes, Mo. Very good, Mojo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
don't be disappointed if we go out with the intent. Some people, I'm going to get them tonight. I want to get them tonight. I tell my young people this. They have one night you'll have a great performance. Everything's going smooth. They're laughing at every joke. They're getting every turn. They're getting everything. And you go home feeling your ego's so blown. You go, yes, yes. And you come back the next night and you go, kill them tonight. And you get out there and it's flat line.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because you're trying to bring yesterday's performance into today's reality. And it doesn't fit. So you've got to release that and be in the moment, be in the now. And whatever shows up, that's what's supposed to show up.
Mm-hmm. And I believe, like you do, is that whoever's in that audience, that performance, they're going to get what they need from that performance that night, which is why it's never going to be the same twice, because the audience is never the same twice.
Right. I say to them this: treat every night as an opening night.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opening. Somebody's seen the show for the first time.
Yes. So you would love this. My first gig as a professional actor was in a 2,000-seat outdoor amphitheater. And I remember at some point there's a group scene where there's 150 of us on stage, and it's huge. And when we were getting notes, this was a rehearsal, the director pointed out that one person was sort of screwing around in this scene and they weren't in character. And the person was like, how did you see that? And he says, you have to remember there's 150 of you and 2,000 people in the audience. Statistically, at least one person is watching you at any given point. So you have to be 100% committed at every moment, regardless of if you are the person carrying a tray on and off stage and you're on stage for 13 seconds.
Be the best tray carrier that you can be.
Absolutely. And my friend Valerie Vestal-Reinking, who has been commenting tonight at the Lost Colony. She was indeed in the Lost Colony with me. We both started our careers in that giant outdoor drama in North Carolina.
That's funny. Thank you, Valerie.
Yay. Yeah, Valerie and I have been friends. We went to college together, so we've been friends for 35 years now. Eek. Eek. So we're coming close to the end of our time together, Ben, but I would love to know, is there anything that you want us to know about stuff besides, actually, one thing I do want to hear a little more about is the organization that you're doing the benefit for in October. A little bit more about that organization.
What it is called Care for the Homeless. And because of the pandemic, we've had to move it. And we're going to do it on June 18th. It's called Vereen and Friends for Care for the Homeless. And a few of my friends are coming out and giving us shout outs, like Glenn Close, Chita Rivera, David Copperfield, Wayne Brady, my son Wayne Brady, who else? Clint Holmes, Brian Cransford. The list goes on and on. And we're going to put on a show, and we're going to tell you about Care for the Homeless. What they do, what I love this organization, is they go into the streets and they give the homeless medical attention. that we have to pay them, but they get it for free. And not only that, they also transition them to permanent home and housing. So I support that. And so we're having this benefit fundraiser on the 18th of June at 6 p.m. For 1 hour. Please chime in and make a donation. And because there, but by the grace of our Creator, go you and I. And with things the way they're looking today, it very well may be you or I. But if we do something about it today, it will not be you or I or them ever again. And we have the power within us to change the dynamics of the homeless people and the world, if we pull together and realize we're fighting for the same thing, and that's human freedom.
So I know that Victoria is watching this. So Victoria, since you're watching, send me information on that, and I will put it up on our Facebook page.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I want to make sure we get the word out there about it.
Because what we want to do is, I'm starting with them in New York, but we want to go across the United States. Matter of fact, I have a group called Urban Chorus from LA that will be in the show, and they are a homeless choir.
Oh, wow.
And they're wonderful.
Awesome.
They'll be on the show as well.
Great. So Anita Lee, since you asked the question, I will be posting on our Facebook page about this. Thanks, Victoria just chimed in. So yeah, thanks, Victoria, if you can send me that information. And Anita, just keep watching our page and on the comments on this video, but also just on our page, I'll make sure we blast out information about that. And Celeste has a lovely compliment for you.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Celeste. Thank you. And you are a gift. You are a gift. We all are gifts. And let's open our presents together when I come in February. Okay.
Yes. I'm excited because if all things go as they should, then it'll be Valentine's Day weekend. And I can't think of a better Valentine's Day gift than
let's claim it. Let's claim
to see
you. And by then, I'm claiming that this thing will have passed and we'll be able to be together.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
You know, and understand, let's be safe. When you think we say, well, I'm distancing, no, you're physically, but you're spiritually connected.
Yep. Yep.
Know that. And let's do the right thing so we'll all be there on February 14th next year.
Yep, and amen to that. So, so Ben, thank you so much for spending this hour with us. You're such a joy to spend time with, and I can't wait to be able to see you in person again. And maybe I'll get to Florida and see you there before we see you in February. You never know.
You're welcome.
So, in just a second, I'm going to move you backstage. But if you just want to stay for a little while, and so we can chat for a little bit afterwards. If you have like just 5 minutes, that would be awesome.
Well, my pleasure. Thank all of you viewers who chimed in. Thank you for all the questions, and bless you and your families. And you will be safe because I'm claiming it so. And I'll see you next year.
Awesome. Thank you. And God bless. And I will be back with you in just a minute. Thanks, Ben. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We're continuing this series every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Next week, I'm thrilled to be interviewing one of my best friends, an amazing performer, Joshua Kane, who is an actor, a mentalist, an amazing voiceover artist, and I think you'll have a really good time. And if we actually talk nicely to him, he might do a little recitation of Edgar Allan Poe, because that's one of his specialties, and he's phenomenal at it. So please check out our Facebook page for the upcoming series of people after Joshua. I've got 4 or 5 more people already lined up through the end of June and into July. So I'm excited to be able to keep offering this sort of a glimpse into the life of artists. So thank you, everyone, again for coming tonight, and I will see you next week.